Have you ever wondered if what we know about the past is just a tiny fraction of a bigger story that we haven't explored yet? Ancient secrets could be hidden in strange artifacts, challenging everything we know about history. And if I told you that there are things from the past that science still can't explain, what would you think? Let's embark on a journey to uncover the untold stories, the mysteries no one dares to touch. You definitely won't want to miss this. Number 1. The strange story of the Black Sarcophagus and mysterious discovery after 2,000 years. In 2018, an event that stunned the world took place in Alexandria, Egypt, one of the most famous cities in ancient history. While workers were carrying out construction in the Sidi Gaba district, they discovered a giant sarcophagus that had been sealed for over 2,000 years. What made this discovery so remarkable was that this sarcophagus was not like the lavish tombs of pharaohs, but had a distinct black color and no inscriptions or decorations. The shape and structure of it raised countless questions and speculations. This was the largest sarcophagus ever found in Alexandria, and it was unlike any tomb archaeologists had seen before. The Black Sarcophagus measured nearly 2.75 meters, about 9 feet long, over 1.5 meters, about 5 feet wide, and about 1.8 meters, about 6 feet high, made of black granite, a strong, durable stone. Moreover, it had been sealed with such a thick layer of mortar that it seemed to have never been disturbed since it was placed underground. As soon as the workers discovered this object, they realized it was not a typical find. Immediately, people speculated about who could have been buried in such a gigantic sarcophagus. Some believed it might be the tomb of Alexander the Great, the founder of Alexandria, while others thought it might belong to an unknown noble or military general. However, when archaeologists began excavating and opening the sarcophagus, they were met with a scene completely different and strange, far from what everyone had expected. The sarcophagus had been sealed for so long, and when the lid, weighing about 15 tons, was finally lifted, an overpowering stench immediately filled the air. The foul smell signaled that what was hidden inside was not what people had imagined. Inside the sarcophagus, instead of a well-preserved mummy or treasures like other ancient tombs, the archaeologists found a cloudy red liquid resembling a mix of groundwater and decomposing flesh over time. 3 skeletons, 2 men and 1 woman, were floating in the liquid. These skeletons showed no signs of embalming, as was typical in ancient Egyptian burials. What made this discovery even more mysterious was the complete absence of any inscriptions, carvings, or artifacts, which is very unusual for Egyptian tombs. Typically, the tombs of pharaohs or high-ranking officials would include burial goods, but here there was nothing. This raised a lot of questions. Who were these people? Why were they buried in such a large sarcophagus but remained completely unknown? And why was the sarcophagus sealed so tightly? Once the discovery was made public, a wave of strange theories began to spread. Some believed that the liquid inside the sarcophagus might have supernatural properties, and some even suggested drinking the liquid to acquire mysterious powers. Others speculated that it could be a failed embalming ritual, or perhaps a severe punishment for those buried there. However, there were also more plausible theories. Some speculated that the 3 skeletons might have belonged to high-ranking military officials or nobles. The large size of the sarcophagus indicated that the person buried there must have had a very high status. However, the lack of any burial goods sparked another theory. Perhaps these people died suddenly, possibly in a plague or during a war, and they were hastily buried without proper rituals. Another possibility is that this sarcophagus was originally intended for a significant figure, but it was later reused as a mass grave. Although no final answers have emerged regarding the questions surrounding this discovery, the skeletons have been sent for further analysis. The black sarcophagus has been preserved and put on display for the public to see, remaining one of the greatest mysteries in modern archaeological history. Although it may not be the burial place of Alexander the Great, its strange nature, from its size, the liquid inside, to the absence of any burial items, has made it one of the most unforgettable and notable archaeological discoveries in recent years. Number 2. Otzi, the Iceman. An ancient murder, frozen in time. In 1991, a strange discovery took place in the Alps between Austria and Italy when two German tourists stumbled upon an unusual object protruding from the ice. At first, they thought it was simply the body of an unfortunate mountaineer. However, when archaeologists arrived at the site, they quickly realized that this was no ordinary corpse, but one of the oldest and best preserved mummies ever found, dating back over 5,300 years. The story of Otzi, the ancient man frozen for more than 5 millennia, instantly became one of the most fascinating archaeological discoveries in history. Otzi, named after the Ötztal Valley where he was found, lived around 3,300 BC. His body was almost perfectly intact, with his skin, clothing, and even tattoos still visible. This wasn't just a mummy, it was a vibrant biological treasure, offering us a rare glimpse into humanity's distant past. Scientists have slowly been decoding the details of Otzi's life, from his diet and health to the tools he carried with him. Otzi wore a cloak made of goatskin, a bear fur hat, and carried an unfinished bow, a flint knife, and a copper axe, an incredibly rare tool at the time. This copper axe was a remarkable find, as the technology to forge copper at that point in history was still quite rudimentary. How could a man living over 5,000 years ago possess such a finely crafted metal tool? Could Otzi have belonged to a civilization far more advanced than what we know of the Stone Age? But Otzi's story doesn't end there. Initially, archaeologists thought Otzi might have died from getting lost in a snowstorm or from the harsh conditions of the Alps. However, further investigation revealed that Otzi had been murdered, not a casualty of an accident or the weather. An arrow had pierced his left shoulder, cutting through an artery, causing fatal bleeding. Additionally, he had a head wound, possibly from being struck or falling after being shot. This indicated that Otzi was not a victim of an accident, but a target of intentional attack, perhaps an assassination. So, who killed Otzi, and why? No clear clues emerged, but some of the items he carried suggested that he wasn't robbed. His copper axe, knife, and personal belongings were still intact, which suggests that the attacker wasn't after his possessions, but perhaps targeted Otzi himself. Could it have been a personal feud, a tribal dispute, or some other reason we may never understand? Otzi may have been ambushed while crossing the mountains, possibly fleeing or trying to find his way home. Otzi's body tells the story of a life full of hardship. Analysis of his bones and teeth showed that he had experienced long periods of hunger and malnutrition in his early life. He suffered from arthritis, gallstones, parasites in his intestines, and even had tattoos, over 60 of them, possibly used for therapeutic purposes or as symbols of faith. Despite the hardships of his life, Otzi kept going, fighting until his death came under mysterious circumstances. Researchers also analyzed his last meal from the contents of his stomach. The food included wild meat, grains, and moss, all partially digested, indicating he had eaten shortly before he was killed. This led some researchers to believe that Otzi might have been running from someone or was in an emergency situation. His hasty meal, unfinished bow, and being alone in the mountains paint the picture of a man trying to escape danger. Otzi is a priceless archaeological treasure, a vivid testament to humanity's past. Yet his death remains an unsolved mystery. The true identity of Otzi, the reason he was killed, and the events surrounding his death continue to be a big question mark in archaeology. While we may never fully know the entire truth, his body, preserved in ice for over 5,000 years, remains a powerful reminder that ancient stories can still be told, even as time has concealed them. Number 3. The 300-million-year-old bolt. Evidence of a lost civilization or an incredible coincidence? In 1998, in the Kaluga region of Russia, a research team working on mineral extraction stumbled upon an unusual object embedded in a rock. When they cracked open the rock, what emerged left everyone stunned. A metallic object that resembled a bolt, about 1 centimeter in length, with evenly twisted threads. What was shocking was not only the shape of the object, but also the age of the rock it was found in. It was estimated to be 300 million years old. To put this in perspective, 300 million years ago, Earth hadn't even seen dinosaurs, and humans didn't exist yet. The world back then consisted mostly of primeval oceans and early prehistoric creatures. So how could an object resembling a modern-day bolt exist from such an ancient period? When the discovery was made public, it immediately raised many significant questions. Russian researchers conducted an X-ray of the object, which revealed that the bolt had a hollow core, identical to the intricate details of modern machinery. Many believed that this was evidence of a highly advanced civilization that existed hundreds of millions of years ago. A civilization that could have developed mechanical technology, metalworking, and tools similar to what we use today, only to vanish without leaving any trace, except for this bolt buried in rock. However, skeptical scientists proposed a different explanation. One hypothesis suggested that the object could be a natural fossil, perhaps the fossil of an ancient marine creature with a spiral structure such as a crinoid or ammonite, which naturally resemble the threads of a bolt. According to this hypothesis, the discovery isn't evidence of ancient technology, but rather a remarkable coincidence between natural formations and man-made appearances. Nevertheless, those who believe in the ancient technology theory aren't convinced by this explanation. They point out that the perfect proportions of the bolt, the evenly twisted threads, the precise ratio, and especially the hollow core are too perfect, closely resembling modern technology. Furthermore, it wasn't just one bolt that was found. Reports from multiple countries, including China, the United States, and even Africa, also mention similar objects. Machine-like details found in ancient rock, light bulbs in Egyptian tombs, and gears in coal mines, all hinting at a bigger truth that modern science isn't quite ready to accept. If these discoveries are genuine, it could mean that an advanced civilization existed millions of years ago. This would completely alter our understanding of human history, evolutionary development, and the cycles of civilization. Great civilizations that once existed and mysteriously disappeared, leaving no trace except fragments like this bolt. However, many scientists argue that reports of ancient bolts still lack sufficient evidence and haven't been independently verified. They warn that such geometric coincidences can easily be misleading and that conclusions shouldn't be rushed based solely on the appearance of the object. They argue that, sometimes, we're merely seeing similarities between natural and artificial formations. So what is this 300-million-year-old bolt? Is it a natural fossil with a strange shape? Or is it evidence of a lost ancient civilization that existed millions of years ago with technology far beyond anything we have known? The answer remains a major question. But these mysteries continue to make us think and imagine possibilities that science has yet to explain. Number 4. Baalbek, an ancient engineering mystery buried in massive stones. In present-day Lebanon, Baalbek is not only a famous site known for its ancient Roman temples, but it also holds some of the most puzzling mysteries that are difficult to explain. The grand structures, built to honor the gods, Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus are truly awe-inspiring. However, beneath these Roman ruins lies something much older. Enormous megalithic stones of unimaginable size, which threaten to rewrite everything we know about history. Among these, the most remarkable are the 3 trilithon stones, massive limestone slabs weighing between 800 and 1,000 tons, which are perfectly stacked upon each other without any sign of mortar or adhesive. They simply rest there, seemingly placed in position without the aid of any modern tools. This has left many baffled as to how these stones were moved and assembled. In addition, a larger stone, known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighing an astonishing 1,200 tons, still lies abandoned at the quarry. It has been pre-carved, seemingly ready to be transported. But what astonishes everyone is that no one knows how such a massive stone could have been moved in ancient times. Mainstream researchers believe that the Romans were the builders of Baalbek, as they were masters of construction techniques. However, a major problem arises. There is no recorded Roman engineering feat that could handle stones weighing up to 1,000 tons. Some theories suggest that the Romans may have built their structures on an older foundation, possibly from a civilization much more ancient than theirs. Other sources hint that Baalbek might have been constructed by the Phoenicians, the powerful civilization that once dominated the Mediterranean region. In fact, some studies go even further, suggesting that Baalbek could have existed long before the Phoenicians, meaning it may have been built thousands of years before history records. If this is true, then it was not the Romans, but a lost ancient civilization responsible for building and transporting these colossal stones. So the question arises, who could have done this, and how did they manage to accomplish what seems like an impossible task? One particularly controversial theory is that Baalbek was built using an ancient technology that has since been lost. It's possible that the builders of that time possessed advanced knowledge of counterweight techniques, pressure control, and even sound frequencies, factors that could have made moving these massive stones much easier. Other theories suggest that ancient civilizations used advanced construction methods that we are not yet aware of, techniques that were lost over time before anyone could document them. But there's one even more controversial hypothesis, that Baalbek might have once served as a landing site for extraterrestrial visitors. Those who believe in the ancient astronaut theory point to the enormous size of the stones and the absolute precision in which they were stacked, suggesting that these objects may have been moved using technology that humans simply did not possess. Some believe that the structure of Baalbek is not merely a temple, but an ancient construction, potentially a base or a landing site for extraterrestrial beings. Although there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, it has persisted for decades. However, what is certain is that we still don't have a satisfactory explanation for how these massive stones were transported and installed at Baalbek. This remains one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world, and if a civilization thousands of years ago was capable of this, what other technologies might they have possessed that we have yet to uncover? Baalbek continues to hold countless secrets, and what lies hidden beneath its great ruins is still a question yet to be answered. The story of Baalbek forces us to question not only the past, but also the possibility that ancient humans could have achieved feats that even today we still cannot explain. Number 5. Codex Gigas, the Forgotten Giant Book and the Mystery of the Devil's Bible. The Codex Gigas, also known as the Devil's Bible, is one of the strangest and most impressive ancient works that humanity has ever known. This book is not only remarkable for its enormous size, but it also contains a dark story that has led many generations to believe that it could not possibly be the work of a human being. One legend tells that the book was completed through a pact with Satan, trading one's soul to finish this holy project. But is the truth behind Codex Gigas really like this? This medieval manuscript is extraordinarily large, standing nearly 1 meter, about 39 inches tall, and weighing over 75 kilograms, about 165 pounds, bound in wood and leather. However, what makes the book so mysterious is not just its size, but the strange content inside. The Codex Gigas contains the entire Bible in Latin, medical texts, historical knowledge, and exorcism rituals, all perfectly handwritten with no errors. But at the center of the book is a terrifying image, a full-body portrait of the devil Satan, with red eyes, a long tongue, sharp claws, and pointy ears. The Codex Gigas is believed to have been created in the early 13th century at a Benedictine monastery located in what is now the Czech Republic. However, the identity of the author and the reason for the book's creation remain a mystery with no answers. The most famous legend associated with the book says that it was written by a monk who committed a terrible sin and was sentenced to die in isolation, imprisoned within stone walls. In desperation, the monk prayed for forgiveness and promised to create a great book to honor God. He vowed to complete the book in a single night, an impossible task, even for the most skilled scribes. But as the night passed, the monk realized that he could not finish it. Facing death, he turned to the only entity that could help him, the devil Satan. The legend says that he made a pact with the devil, trading his soul to complete the book. By dawn, the Codex Gigas was finished. Every page perfectly written by hand, without any interruption or change. And as a mark of the pact, he dedicated one page to a portrait of the devil Satan, a haunting, eerie image. This legend is truly captivating, but is there any truth to it? One of the things that makes the Codex Gigas such a mystery is the strange consistency of the handwriting throughout the entire book. Experts who have studied it believe that all the pages were written by the same person. There are no changes in the writing style, no signs of pauses or ink interruptions. In fact, writing such a book could take at least 25 to 30 years, but the absolute consistency raises doubts about how the book could have been completed in such a short time. The next question is, how could one person have completed such a gigantic book with absolute accuracy? The content of the book is also incredibly special. Besides the biblical texts, the Codex Gigas contains forbidden knowledge, from exorcism rituals and ancient remedies to demonology texts. The combination of divine knowledge and magical knowledge has led many to believe that the book is not just a religious work, but a sign of something greater, beyond human understanding. The depiction of Satan in the book is chilling. It is completely different from religious images of that time, portraying Satan with bloodshot eyes, a long tongue, sharp claws, and an eerie presence. Some believe that this image carries a dark energy, or that it is a warning about the cost of the pact the monk made. However, if the book was not created by supernatural forces, how could one person have created such a monumental work on their own? One theory is that the monk may have suffered from hypergraphia, a neurological condition that causes an uncontrollable urge to write. Other researchers suggest that the book was actually the result of a collective effort, but later disguised to appear as the work of a single person. The history of the Codex Gigas is equally fascinating. The book has been looted, stolen, and moved across several countries. It was once kept at the Royal Library of Sweden, where it survived a massive fire. Witnesses recount that when the library burned in the 17th century, the book was thrown out of the window to save it, and it landed on the ground almost undamaged, while most of the library was destroyed. Some people believe that this event is a sign that the book is protected by some force. Today, the Codex Gigas is still preserved at the National Library of Sweden under strict control. Scholars continue to study the contents of the book, but it still holds mysteries that we may never fully understand. Who really wrote this book? How did they manage to complete it? And why did they dedicate a page to draw the image of the devil Satan? All these questions remain part of the mysteries that time has not yet solved. The Codex Gigas is an eternal puzzle, a work containing untold stories, and perhaps we will forever live in curiosity about it. Number 6. Piri Reis map, evidence of a lost ancient civilization. In 1513, a Turkish admiral named Piri Reis created a world map unlike any other map drawn before. His map is a perfect blend of many ancient sources, including maps from Alexander the Great, Arabs, and medieval European maps. However, what makes this map truly special and shocking is one part of it, which is currently preserved at the Topkapi Palace Museum in Istanbul, depicting the west coast of Africa, the southeast coast of South America, and part of Antarctica. This becomes even more bizarre considering Antarctica was officially discovered in 1820, more than 300 years after Piri Reis drew his map. So how could Piri Reis include Antarctica in his map? Notably, he didn't just sketch it vaguely. The landmass is clearly shown without any ice covering, with precise geographical features, including mountains and coastlines that are now completely covered by thick ice. This accuracy has led researchers to use geophysical techniques and modern radar technology to confirm that the terrain under the ice of Antarctica closely matches what Piri Reis depicted on the map. This has led to a series of controversial hypotheses. Could there have once been an ancient civilization with maritime and cartographic skills advanced enough to be far beyond their time? Could this civilization have seen Antarctica before it was covered in ice, meaning at least 6,000 years ago? In his notes, Piri Reis explained that he was simply compiling ancient maps from previous sailors. Maps from ancient times, from the age of previous sailors. This makes the question of the origins of these maps even more complicated. If they truly existed, then who created them? And how could they have obtained such accurate information? Those who believe in the theory of a forgotten civilization argue that this map is proof of the existence of a global civilization, possibly Atlantis or another advanced civilization that traveled the world and recorded areas we have only recently rediscovered in the past few centuries. However, critics of this hypothesis argue that the part of the map identified as Antarctica could actually just be an extension of South America, and the shape similarity could be a mere coincidence. Moreover, determining when Antarctica was free of ice at a specific time is a very complex geological question that may have many explanations. Nevertheless, Piri Reis's map remains an intriguing work. Its accuracy, particularly in depicting the South American coastline, surpasses most European maps of the time. Not only is it geometrically accurate, but the map also reflects distance ratios almost precisely, matching the curvature of the Earth, something that wasn't measurable until the 18th century. If this is all just the result of copying ancient maps, then where did those original maps come from? Who drew them? And if they could accurately depict Antarctica's terrain before it was covered in ice, when did they live? The Piri Reis map raises a big question for the history of navigation and cartography. Did this development truly begin in the time of Columbus? Or are there forgotten, hidden, or simply undiscovered chapters in history? This map, with its intricate lines drawn on deerskin, may hold the key to unlocking a greater truth about the past that we've never known. Number 7. Göbekli Tepe, the ancient mystery that challenges human history theories. Göbekli Tepe is one of the strangest and most mysterious archaeological discoveries of humanity. This site not only predates the advent of writing and great monuments like the pyramids, but it also serves as a vivid testament to a civilization that may have once existed with construction and organizational abilities far beyond our imagination. Discovered in southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe was buried for thousands of years before being uncovered in the 1960s, and it was only in the 1990s that Klaus Schmidt officially excavated its true scale. What makes Göbekli Tepe completely different from other ancient structures is its craftsmanship and monumental scale. The giant circles are formed by large limestone pillars, each weighing up to 20 tons and standing as tall as 6 meters, about 20 feet. But what is even more astonishing are the intricate carvings on the stone pillars, featuring images of animals, mysterious symbols, and even human figures, all meticulously etched by hand, showing a level of skill and organization that cannot be explained by what we know about human beings at that time. Göbekli Tepe is believed to have existed around 12,000 years ago, around 9,600 BC, making it the oldest religious structure ever discovered, predating Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza by thousands of years. This raises a big question. If people at that time were still just nomadic hunter-gatherers, how could they have built such a grand structure? There is no evidence to suggest that this area was ever a permanent settlement. Instead, Göbekli Tepe is believed to have been a place of worship, a site for religious ceremonies, or even an astronomical observation site. One intriguing theory suggests that Göbekli Tepe was not the work of ordinary hunter-gatherers, but rather the remains of a forgotten advanced civilization that existed before humans developed agriculture. Some scholars propose that this civilization might have been destroyed by a global catastrophe, such as a comet impact during the last ice age, an event that some studies suggest caused abrupt climate changes. Some people believe that sites like Göbekli Tepe may be the only evidence left of this civilization's existence. However, there is another theory that suggests the creators of Göbekli Tepe were simply extremely skilled hunter-gatherers who had accumulated knowledge over many generations to construct such a magnificent structure. These people may have developed religious beliefs long before they knew about farming or building permanent settlements. Notably, while other ancient sites often feature pottery, housing, or everyday tools, Göbekli Tepe is completely devoid of these. This leads to the theory that it was never a place for habitation. It has always been a site reserved for religious rituals or other purposes beyond basic survival needs. These discoveries force archaeologists to reconsider the entire development process of humanity. If our ancestors were capable of constructing such a complex structure before the first cities, what else could they have achieved? And if the knowledge to build Göbekli Tepe existed so long ago, where did it come from? Could there be other ancient sites that have yet to be discovered, which could help answer this question? Excavated from deep layers of earth over decades, Göbekli Tepe still holds many secrets. Each new discovery raises even more questions, and these questions may change the history of humanity as we know it. Ultimately, Göbekli Tepe may be the missing link in our historical timeline, proof of an ancient civilization that has been forgotten, far beyond what we once knew. Number 8. Clovis culture, a piece of mysterious history buried in time. The Clovis culture is one of the most surprising and enigmatic chapters in North American prehistory. Around 13,000 years ago, the Clovis people lived on this continent, leaving behind finely crafted hunting tools and unprecedented cultural traces. But what is strange is that despite the thriving nature of this culture, they suddenly vanished without any clear explanation. Why did this happen? And do the tools and bones they left behind really help answer this question? The Clovis culture is primarily known for its distinctive spearheads called Clovis points, carefully crafted from hard stone and flint. These tools not only demonstrate that the Clovis people were skilled hunters, but also reflect a deep understanding of their environment and tool-making techniques. These characteristics led archaeologists to believe that the Clovis people were the first to set foot in the Americas, crossing the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia. However, the sudden disappearance of the Clovis people around 12,800 years ago remains an unsolved mystery. While other social groups continue to develop, the Clovis culture seems to have been completely wiped out from the archaeological record. There is no evidence of warfare or natural disasters, and the cause of their disappearance remains unclear. All that remains are tools and fossilized bones, proving that they once existed, but offering no explanation as to why they vanished so mysteriously. One prominent hypothesis about their disappearance is the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. According to this theory, a comet or meteorite may have struck Earth around 12,800 years ago, causing extreme environmental changes. This impact could have triggered massive wildfires and pushed Earth back into Ice Age conditions, leading to the collapse of the ecosystem that the Clovis people relied on, especially large animals like mammoths. Evidence for this theory has been found in a thin black sediment layer called the black mat at many Clovis sites, containing microscopic diamonds that scientists believe could only have formed from an impact event. In addition to the meteorite catastrophe theory, another hypothesis suggests that the Clovis people did not actually disappear, but instead integrated into new cultures. As large animals went extinct, they might have adapted by hunting smaller game and living a more settled lifestyle. This could have led to the emergence of subsequent cultures like Folsom, which had distinctly different tools and techniques. In this case, the Clovis people didn't vanish. They simply evolved and integrated into new societies. However, an even more intriguing hypothesis suggests that the Clovis people were wiped out by an unknown disaster. This is supported by the mass extinction of large animals in a very short time, as well as the sudden disappearance of the Clovis people. A big question arises: what caused this extinction? Could it have been a plague, conflict with other groups, or a catastrophic natural event? Whatever the cause, it led to the disappearance of the Clovis culture from history. Moreover, increasing archaeological evidence suggests that other groups may have arrived in the Americas before the Clovis people. Sites like Monteverde in Chile and Galt in Texas contain artifacts that date back thousands of years before Clovis, undermining the belief that the Clovis people were the first to arrive in the Americas. If other groups arrived first, then who were the Clovis people? Some researchers believe that the Clovis people could be remnants of an even older civilization, one that was wiped out by a great disaster. They may have been part of a culture that existed before the end of the Ice Age, or they could have been pioneers in exploring and living on this continent. Regardless of how many hypotheses are proposed, the final fate of the Clovis people remains a major mystery in archaeological history. Were they wiped out by a natural disaster, or did they simply merge into other cultures? These questions remain unanswered, and the clues they left behind may forever remain incomplete pieces in the story of human history. Number 9. The 7 Pillars of Mahabalipuram, discovering the mystery beneath the ocean. Mahabalipuram, an ancient town located in the Tamil Nadu state of India, is home to unique temples and rock structures built in the 7th and 8th centuries under the Pallava dynasty. Famous for its intricate sculptures and monolithic structures, Mahabalipuram attracts millions of tourists and scholars. However, beneath this town lies a mysterious story about temples that have disappeared. Legend says that before these structures sank beneath the ocean, they once stood as a stunning temple complex with 7 towering spires, awe-inspiring anyone who saw them. However, a great deluge, brought upon by the gods, submerged everything, leaving only one temple, the Shore Temple, which still stands today. But this story is not just a myth. In 2004, one of the most powerful tsunamis in history struck the Indian Ocean region. devastating the coastline of Mahabalipuram. When the waters receded, something strange happened. Large stone structures, pillars, and the foundations of the long-lost temples unexpectedly appeared underwater. Witnesses described them as walls, giant statues with intricate patterns seemingly unaffected by time. This immediately caught the attention of archaeologists and marine researchers who conducted underwater explorations. Subsequent surveys confirmed that ancient structures truly exist at the sea bottom. The finely carved stone blocks and artifacts suggest that this was once a large settlement or a temple complex, now swallowed by the ocean. Some structures were found hundreds of meters offshore, buried under layers of sand and marine life. This discovery has completely changed how we view the history of Mahabalipuram, raising the question of whether these lost temples were truly submerged in the sea long ago, or if they were simply victims of a natural disaster. The most common hypothesis is that these temples were destroyed by a natural disaster, possibly a tsunami or a rise in sea levels over many centuries. Mahabalipuram lies close to the Bay of Bengal, a region prone to erosion and flooding, which may have caused the gradual encroachment of the sea. According to this theory, the temples were not destroyed instantly but were slowly overtaken by the ocean, until only the shore temple remained standing as the sole testament to the past. Additionally, an intriguing theory links these temples to Kumari Kandam, a legendary continent that many ancient Tamil myths claim sank beneath the ocean after a great flood. This is similar to the story of Atlantis, a lost civilization that left behind only vague remnants. While there is no definitive evidence for the existence of such a continent, stories continue to be passed down through generations, and some believe that the temples in Mahabalipuram could be part of that ancient civilization. It's possible that these temples weren't destroyed by natural disasters or calamities, but simply abandoned as dynasties changed and attention shifted to other areas. With the passage of time, storms, earthquakes, and the encroaching sea, these structures gradually disappeared. However, what's fascinating is that recent underwater discoveries show that some parts of the complex may still be intact, lying beyond the reach of modern exploration technology. Although some discoveries have been clarified, much remains unexplored. Underwater archaeology is still a relatively new field, and with the development of modern technologies like sonar systems, 3D mapping, and remote-controlled devices, future expeditions could bring us closer to uncovering the full extent of the lost temples. Some researchers believe these expeditions could help uncover the foundations of the temples, underwater carvings, and perhaps even ancient inscriptions, helping us understand more about the builders of these structures and why they were forgotten. Currently, the shore temple stands as a solitary monument guarding the secrets of the lost temples. However, with recent discoveries, we no longer view this as just a legend. What we have found beneath the ocean is clear evidence that the ocean still holds many parts of human history that we had never imagined. Number 10. The unfinished obelisk of Aswan, the mystery of an abandoned project. In Aswan, Egypt, there is a peculiar and unfinished architectural project that, if completed, would have become the largest obelisk ever witnessed by humanity. However, the reason why this project was abandoned remains a perplexing question. Quietly lying in a quarry in Aswan, this massive obelisk was left unfinished, seemingly standing as a testament to the ambition and failure of an ancient civilization. Aswan, a site renowned for the magnificent stone structures of ancient Egyptian civilization, is where large stones were quarried for building famous temples and obelisks, such as those found at Karnak and Luxor. But while many projects were completed, the obelisk at Aswan remains an anomaly, a giant left behind. At more than 42 meters, about 138 feet in length, and weighing an estimated 1,200 tons, this obelisk was never erected, although it could have been the largest obelisk ever created. If completed, it would have been the tallest and heaviest obelisk in all of Egypt, surpassing all the obelisks at Karnak and other famous ones in Rome. So, what happened to prevent this monumental project from being finished? Historians believe that the obelisk was being crafted during the reign of Queen Hatshepsut around the 15th century BC. Hatshepsut was one of Egypt's most powerful and skilled pharaohs, renowned for her great building projects, including the works still standing at Karnak. However, the obelisk at Aswan was never moved from the quarry. The most popular hypothesis is that the project was abandoned due to a large crack that appeared during the process of separating the obelisk from the bedrock. This flaw may have made transportation and erection of the obelisk impossible, rendering the project futile. The Egyptians, known for their precision in stonework, might have decided to halt the project to avoid wasting resources and labor. However, some scholars argue that the story is not so simple. The ancient Egyptians were masters in the art of stoneworking, and, if it was just a crack, they might have found a way to reuse the obelisk for other projects. This raises the question of whether there was another deeper reason for abandoning this massive obelisk. One interesting theory suggests that the situation could have been related to the religious beliefs of the Egyptians. In their culture, sacred omens could have a powerful influence on the decision to build a project. A large crack during the crafting process could have been seen as a bad omen from the gods, signaling that this project should not be completed. Additionally, another theory suggests that the obelisk at Aswan might have been too ambitious for the capabilities of the ancient Egyptians. While they had built colossal structures, this obelisk was larger than any project they had previously undertaken. Moving such a heavy stone would have required a monumental plan and workforce, which could have been a challenge that exceeded their practical capabilities. Alongside these abandonment hypotheses, the unfinished obelisk also reveals some secrets about the ancient Egyptian stoneworking techniques. The traces around the obelisk show the sophisticated methods that we still cannot fully explain today. The Egyptians did not use metal chisels to cut hard stones like granite. Instead, they used dolerite, an extremely hard stone, to hammer against the bedrock. Workers skillfully created deep grooves around the obelisk to separate it from the stone. These traces are evidence of the patience and craftsmanship of the ancient Egyptians, something we continue to debate and study to this day. Some stranger hypotheses suggest that the unfinished obelisk could be evidence of a lost ancient technology. Experts argue that the precision with which the obelisk was shaped might indicate that the Egyptians possessed tools or construction methods that we cannot comprehend. Perhaps they had advanced technology far beyond what we know today, and that is why the project was abandoned. A big question still hangs in the air. Were the ancient Egyptians truly the only ones behind moving and erecting these massive stones? Using only human labor, ropes, and wooden sledges, could they have completed such colossal works? This question has opened up a series of hypotheses, from the loss of ancient technologies to more extreme theories like the intervention of extraterrestrial beings. Whether these hypotheses are accepted or not, it is clear that the construction techniques of ancient Egypt remain one of the greatest unanswered questions. Monuments like the pyramids and temples continue to confuse us as to how they were built, and the unfinished obelisk at Aswan remains a testament to the wonders of an ancient civilization, where monumental works may have been abandoned for reasons no one knows. Today, the unfinished obelisk at Aswan still stands, like a great monument to the passage of time, a reminder of the ambitions and limits of ancient civilizations. The abandonment of this project will forever remain one of the greatest mysteries in archaeological research, making us wonder what the ancient Egyptians could have achieved if history had not changed. Number 11. Indus Valley Civilization, the mystery of a lost history. The Indus Valley Civilization, one of the greatest and oldest civilizations in the world, flourished from around 3300 to 1300 BC in what is now Pakistan and northwestern India. This sophisticated civilization was far ahead of its time, but despite its remarkable achievements, it suddenly vanished in an inexplicable manner, leaving a series of unanswered questions for thousands of years. With cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the Indus Valley Civilization is a testament to a society capable of urban planning and organization that even modern civilizations must admire. Straight streets, advanced drainage systems, uniform brick buildings, and public works like public baths, all of these show that they had a remarkable understanding of hygiene and public health. These cities were built with plans resembling modern urban areas, proving that the people of the Indus Valley possessed high levels of technical and managerial expertise. However, what is shocking is that, despite these accomplishments, there are no signs that they ever built monumental structures to honor kings or deities. There are no pyramids like in Egypt, no massive ziggurats like in Mesopotamia, and no grand palaces or temples. This raises the question: was the Indus Valley Civilization a completely different society, where there was no clear class division and no grand structures for the ruling elite? Furthermore, their economy is known for its vast trade network. Artifacts from the Indus Valley have been found not only in Mesopotamia, but also in far-flung regions such as Central Asia, demonstrating that they had a developed trade system. They also possessed a unique writing system, which, like many other aspects of this civilization, remains a mystery that has yet to be deciphered. Scholars have studied thousands of inscriptions, but have been unable to understand the meaning of the characters, leading us to wonder, if we could understand these texts, could we uncover more about a civilization that now exists only in ruins? For nearly 2,000 years, the Indus Valley Civilization developed and thrived, but around 1900 BC, their cities began to decline, and by 1300 BC, they were completely abandoned. What is strange is that this decline is not like that of other civilizations, where wars or invasions led to their collapse. The Indus cities seem to have suddenly disappeared without any clear trace of why. One popular hypothesis for the collapse of this civilization is environmental change. The people of the Indus Valley depended on the Sarasvati River, an important water source for agriculture and daily life. However, it is possible that this river dried up or changed course due to geological events, leading to a severe reduction in water supply and affecting their agriculture. If the Sarasvati River truly disappeared, this civilization would have faced a water crisis, forcing them to abandon their cities and migrate. Another possibility is climate change. Geological studies suggest that this area underwent long periods of drought, which could have made it impossible to live in the large cities. The migration of people from the large cities to less urbanized areas towards the end of the Indus period could be a sign of gradual decline. This suggests that the Indus Valley Civilization did not collapse suddenly, but rather due to long-term environmental factors. Another theory is that the Indus Valley Civilization weakened due to an economic collapse. Their economy was largely based on trade, and if trade routes were disrupted, possibly due to war, political instability, or changes in other civilizations, their economy would have been severely affected. However, this hypothesis still doesn't explain why the major cities were abandoned entirely without any signs of destruction. A more notable hypothesis suggests that the civilization was invaded by the Aryans, a nomadic Indo-European group, who may have taken over the Indus cities at this time. However, there is no clear evidence of war or large-scale invasions, and the ruins show no signs of destruction from warfare. This makes this hypothesis less convincing. Another theory proposes that disease could have been a significant factor. Poor sanitary conditions or contact with new populations may have led to a large-scale epidemic, forcing survivors to flee and disperse. Although this hypothesis has not been proven, it is not impossible that disease played a major role in the downfall of this civilization. However, what is most striking about the disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization is the absolute silence they left behind. Unlike civilizations like Egypt or Mesopotamia, where wars and conquests left clear traces, the Indus Valley civilization left no written records. No stories were passed down, and there are no written records about their collapse. It seems as though they simply ceased to exist, and this disappearance has caused archaeologists to spend over a century searching for an explanation. Even today, new archaeological discoveries continue to change our understanding of this civilization. New sites related to the Indus Valley civilization, some even larger than Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, suggest that the scope of this civilization may have been even larger than we once imagined. The people of the Indus Valley didn't just build a few cities, but rather a network of cities connected across a large area of South Asia. Although more than a century has passed since the Indus Valley civilization was first discovered, questions about them remain unanswered. Who were they? What happened to them? And why did such an advanced civilization vanish without leaving any clear traces? These questions remain hanging, and the Indus Valley civilization will always be one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. Number 12. Aztlan, the legendary land of the Aztecs. Aztlan, a mythical land, is a name closely tied to the mysterious stories of the origin and development of the Aztec civilization. Although no one has yet discovered the exact location of Aztlan, its legend lives on in Aztec history and culture. It is the story of a glorious ancient city, a land of desire, which was once the source of a great empire, but now remains a piece of land in the minds of people, where every journey began and every heritage returned. One of the most interesting theories about the location of Aztlan suggests that it could be located in western Mexico, an area where many ancient prosperous cities existed before the Aztec Empire arose. La Quemada, an archaeological site in the Zacatecas state, is considered one of the potential candidates. With its strong walls, massive stone structures, and a design resembling an ancient fortress, La Quemada stands out completely from other settlements in the region. Some people believe that this could be the ruins of Aztlan, left behind when the Aztecs began their southward journey. However, despite La Quemada's impressive nature, there is no archaeological evidence to confirm that this was Aztlan. There are no ancient texts, symbols, or artifacts indicating that this place was the land the Aztecs referred to as Aztlan. This has made the story of Aztlan even more enigmatic and controversial. Another theory suggests that Aztlan was not a single city, but a confederation of many tribes, a great cultural center where various groups lived and later migrated. In the area now known as Arizona, USA, there was a famous ancient civilization called the Hohokam, known for their complex canal systems. The fact that they built such sophisticated irrigation works, combined with the sudden decline of their civilization, leads some scholars to speculate that the Hohokam might be descendants of Aztlan, the Aztecs who lived there before disappearing from history. However, one of the boldest hypotheses is that Aztlan could lie beneath the ocean. Some studies have compared the legend of Aztlan with other submerged civilizations such as Doggerland in Europe or underwater ruins off the coast of Cuba. Over the past thousands of years, sea levels have risen, submerging many land areas, including ancient settlements. If Aztlan was once an island city, as Aztec records describe, it is possible that all evidence of its existence has been buried beneath marine sediments, yet to be discovered. Although there is no concrete evidence, the similarities between the Aztlan legend and the myth of Atlantis are often noted. While there is no direct connection between these two cultures, both are stories of a great civilization that disappeared, leaving behind a mysterious gap in human memory. Some theories even suggest that Aztlan could have been part of a global network of advanced civilizations that existed before history was recorded. Although archaeologists have yet to provide definitive evidence of the location of Aztlan, the legend of this land continues to captivate those seeking the truth about the past. One symbolic theory suggests that the Aztecs might have intentionally kept the real location of Aztlan a secret. By not recording its exact coordinates, they may have turned Aztlan into a sacred symbol, a land that does not exist in the physical world, but only in the mind, in rituals, and in sacred songs. This concealment might have been a way to protect Aztlan from war, politics, and invasion, keeping it pure in the memory of the Aztecs. Other scholars suggest that Aztlan may not have been a real place, but a metaphorical image, symbolizing a mental state. It could represent the Aztecs' idealized past, a promised land that everyone wanted to return to but no one could find. If that is the case, Aztlan is not just a lost city, but an eternal yearning for something once beautiful and pure, but now irreplaceable. Perhaps what makes Aztlan so special is not just whether it existed, but the meaning it carries. Aztlan has become a symbol of unity, identity, and the spiritual essence of the Aztec people. Although no one can pinpoint its exact location, Aztlan still lives on in the minds and culture of subsequent generations. It has become a source of inspiration for cultural, social, and political movements, particularly in the Mexican-American community, where Aztlan is viewed as a powerful symbol of strength and ancestral roots. Whether Aztlan truly existed or not, it has transcended the bounds of a historical story to become a part of humanity's legend. It reminds us that not everything important can be measured, located, or unearthed. Sometimes the power of a civilization lies not in what they built, but in what they passed down through time, in stories, symbols, and beliefs. Number 13. The Olmec Civilization. Timeless Mysteries. The Olmec civilization, often referred to as the mother culture of Mesoamerica, opened the door to many cultural, religious, and artistic elements that later civilizations inherited. However, what is strange is that, despite their highly developed culture, the Olmec left behind few traces of themselves, making this civilization one of the greatest mysteries in history. The Olmec people primarily lived in what is now the states of Veracruz and Tabasco in Mexico, a coastal region full of challenges with rainforests and swamps. Despite facing harsh living conditions, they developed a strong agricultural system, a vibrant trade network, and rich religious rituals. However, the most distinctive feature of this civilization is the remnants they left behind, especially the colossal stone heads. These statues, each ranging from 1.5 to over 3 meters, about 5 to 10 feet, tall and weighing dozens of tons, were carved from a single block of basalt. To date, more than 17 stone heads have been found, and each one displays markedly different facial features, as if they represent specific individuals rather than just general symbols. This has led researchers to wonder, how could an ancient civilization without metal tools, the wheel, or modern technology extract and move such massive stones to create such intricate statues? Some theories suggest that the Olmec might have used wooden rafts, rolled the stones over tree trunks, and mobilized hundreds of workers to move them. However, even with this method, The idea of carving hard granite into statues with such detailed expressions and intricate designs on the headgear remains puzzling, far beyond the technological capabilities of the time. What is even more noteworthy is that despite the Olmec's advanced civilization, they did not leave behind any decipherable writing system. There are no texts documenting their history, no indications about the purpose of these stone heads or why they were built. This silence only adds to their mystique. The purpose of the Olmec stone heads remains an open question. Some researchers believe they depict powerful leaders or great warriors, carved to honor them and record their achievements throughout their lives. However, others suggest that these statues may have deep ritual significance, possibly related to the Olmec's ancient religious ceremonies. What draws special attention are the facial features on the statues. They are not abstract representations, but instead bear strong personal characteristics, from wide noses and thick lips to distinctive headgear. Could these be realistic portraits of specific individuals? If so, this suggests that the Olmec not only had high artistic skill, but also a society advanced enough to honor individuals, a rare occurrence in ancient civilizations. Some scholars and archaeologists propose a bold theory that the Olmec may have had contact with civilizations outside of the Americas. They point to similarities between the Olmec statues and the facial features of West African people, particularly the noses, lips, and facial structure. This suggests the possibility of transoceanic contact before Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas. However, most traditional archaeologists reject this theory, believing that the similarities are mere coincidences and that the Olmec was an independent civilization that developed in Mesoamerica. Regardless, it cannot be denied that the legacy of the Olmec had a profound influence on later Mesoamerican cultures. They were the first to build well-planned cities, develop advanced agricultural systems, and create symbolic language that may have been the precursor to the Maya script. They also established religious, cosmological concepts and sacrificial rituals, elements that later civilizations, such as the Maya and Aztec, adopted and developed. However, around 400 BC, the Olmec culture suddenly vanished. Urban centers were abandoned, people migrated, and no trace of their existence remained in later generations. Much like the Indus Valley civilization, the Olmec seem to have disappeared from history without any clear explanation. Although it has been nearly 2,500 years since the Olmec civilization disappeared, the magnificent remnants they left behind, especially the stone heads, continue to challenge our understanding of the ancient world. The silence surrounding this civilization only makes the question of their collapse more fascinating than ever. Did they develop technology that we cannot comprehend? Or was their disappearance the result of some other cause we have yet to consider? Today, archaeological discoveries about the Olmec continue to change our perception of this mysterious civilization, fueling our curiosity about what they may have achieved in a time when humanity had neither writing nor modern technology. These questions remain unanswered, but it is the mystery of the Olmec civilization that has made them an indelible part of humanity's treasure trove of enigmas. Number 15. The mystery of the moving rocks at Racetrack Playa. In the arid, sun-baked land of Death Valley, where the air shimmers under the heat of the sun, there exists a mysterious phenomenon that has baffled researchers for decades. Enormous rocks that move in strange patterns across the ground without any human or animal intervention. These rocks leave long, winding trails behind them, but there are no signs of pushing or any clear evidence of impact. This is the moving rocks phenomenon at Racetrack Playa, one of the most puzzling natural mysteries the world has ever witnessed. Racetrack Playa, located in Death Valley National Park in California, is an ancient dry lakebed that has left behind a flat, lifeless land. Although it may seem like a dead space, giant rocks, some weighing hundreds of kilograms, lie scattered across the surface, and each rock seems to have slid across the ground, leaving behind long tracks. Strangely, these trails do not follow any predictable pattern. Some are straight, while others curve or change direction without any apparent reason. What is most perplexing is the complete absence of any signs of external forces. There are no footprints from humans or animals, no signs of pulling equipment or anything suggesting any clear intervention. While these rocks appear to have moved considerable distances, scientists have never witnessed this phenomenon happening in real time. The early theories about this phenomenon varied widely, ranging from ideas about gravitational anomalies, underground earthquakes, to geological factors not yet fully understood, but none could definitively explain what caused this movement. One prominent theory suggests that the strong winds of Death Valley may have played a significant role. However, with such heavy rocks, even the strongest winds would find it difficult to move them. Other opinions suggest that rare rains might create a wet mud layer, allowing the rocks to slide more easily across the ground. Yet, due to the lack of concrete evidence, this mystery continues to persist. After years of debate and research, the answer seemed to emerge in 2014 when a team of scientists used time-lapse photography combined with GPS technology to track the movement of the rocks. The research team discovered that this phenomenon only occurs under very specific weather conditions. During winter, when rain or dew settles on the ground, a thin layer of water covers the surface of racetrack playa. When the temperature drops below freezing, this thin layer of water freezes into a thin ice sheet, causing the rocks to remain stationary. As the sun rises and melts the ice layer, the broken pieces of ice slide over the wet mud beneath. This thin layer of ice drags the rocks trapped inside, creating slow but steady movement, leaving long trails across the ground. Although this process occurs very slowly and is not visible to the naked eye, over time it creates these strange, long-lasting trails, marks that took scientists years to decode. However, despite the reasonable scientific explanation, the moving rocks phenomenon still holds many unexplained mysteries. One of the biggest questions remains why only some rocks move, while others, under identical conditions, remain stationary. Furthermore, there are trails that have lasted for decades, but some trails suddenly disappear without any clear reason. Although these rocks are now scientifically explained, they still carry a sense of mystery, as though an invisible force is acting upon them. In reality, even with this discovery, many questions remain unanswered. And one thing that makes the moving rocks phenomenon even more eerie is the absolute stillness and quietness when no one is observing them move. It seems that in such a dry, scorching land, the rocks slide slowly and silently, giving the feeling that they carry something beyond the explanation of science. New findings about these rocks are not just an answer to a mystery, but also raise many other questions about unexplained natural phenomena. How many places on Earth are hiding similar mysteries that we have yet to understand? These questions remind us that, although science has made great advances, nature still holds many mysteries that we have yet to fully comprehend. Number 16. Nan Madol, the mysterious city of prehistory. Hidden in a remote area of the Pacific on a small island in Ponape, part of the Federated States of Micronesia, Nan Madol is one of the most peculiar and isolated ruins in the world. Known as the Venice of the Pacific, some have even called it the eighth wonder of the world. But what makes Nan Madol so mysterious? This civilization, also known as one of the earliest developed cultures in the Pacific region, constructed a strange city system consisting of more than 90 artificial islands connected by intricate canals. What sets Nan Madol apart from any other ancient civilization is the uniqueness of its design and the scale of its architectural structures. Enormous stones, carved and installed with extreme precision, rise from the water, forming solid hexagonal structures. These massive basalt walls, weighing tons, along with buildings constructed on black basalt foundations, not only reflect skill in construction, but also indicate a civilization with advanced vision and technology. What truly makes Nan Madol an unsolved mystery is the question: how could the people here have built such colossal structures without modern technology? These massive stones, which are not found in any quarries on the island, seem to have been transported in an unusual way over great distances. Archaeologists have found no trace of tools or transportation methods that could explain how these massive stones were moved, leading to much confusion about the technique the Olmec may have used. One theory suggests that they might have used a technology beyond our current understanding, or perhaps there was some supernatural element that helped them complete the construction. Meanwhile, some local legends claim that powerful sorcerers intervened in the construction process and used magic to move these stones. This adds an extra layer of mystery to the story of Nan Madol, combining technical excellence with colorful mythical tales. The city was once the political and religious center of the Saudeleur dynasty, a long-ruling group in Ponape. However, the reason why Nan Madol was built in such a location, on water rather than land, remains an unanswered question. Some believe it could have been a way to separate classes, a hierarchical system between the ruling elite and the common people, while others suggest it was a place to conduct important religious rituals, where priests and rulers could carry out their work without the scrutiny of the public. What makes Nan Madol so strange is not only its construction techniques, but also the complete silence surrounding its collapse. The city has been abandoned for a long time, and no one knows exactly why. Some believe that it was overthrown by invaders, while others argue that the dependence on importing food and resources may have led to the city's inability to sustain itself. A more controversial theory suggests that Nan Madol was abandoned due to a curse, and even today, locals avoid the city at night due to stories of strange lights and unexplained sounds, making it a cursed land. While the theories about the collapse of Nan Madol vary, one undeniable fact is that its ruins still stand as a living testament to the remarkable development of this civilization and the mystery of its architectural feats. Nan Madol, with its towering statues and massive stone columns, still serves as a reminder of a civilization that may have been wiped out without leaving any clear traces. Today, Nan Madol remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Despite extensive research by archaeologists and experts, many questions remain unanswered. Is there an ancient technology we still don't know about? Are there secrets hidden within these buildings, and the reasons why they have withstood the test of time? Nan Madol, whether a forgotten ruin or an unfinished masterpiece yet to be fully explored, continues to captivate those passionate about discovering history and the lost civilizations. It's likely that we still haven't uncovered all the secrets this place holds. To be continued.